I'm going to go for the obvious. Alex Cuthbert, how is he doing? Do you have any updates?
I don't have any update. He's not going very well because I've not seen him, which is never a good sign. We're obviously devastated for him. The battles that he has to, he's been through to get back, and he obviously got injured with Wales, and then come back, and a long road to recovery. We just feel for him really, and it's the mood was sombre enough, but that certainly didn't help us out or help anyone out. So our feelings for him and his family really, but it doesn't look good. We're working through what that actually is in real time at the moment.
Yeah, he's just so unlucky, and it also meant that you guys lost out on possibly 2 bonus points, none of which was his fault. Obviously, it's just an unlucky situation. How much will he be missed, even though, unfortunately, you've had to cope with most of the season without him anyway?
Yeah, look, obviously injury's part of it, and it's really difficult, and it creates opportunity for other people, young players, returning players, whatever. We had certainly a lot of chances to contribute to us getting a more positive result than we did from last weekend, and the performance levels were good. I mean, they have a ricochet that stays in play, an intercept, and we've dropped the ball a couple of times in the 22. So the stuff we've spoken to the team around is, as you get further up the ladder, as it were, and the expectation element of it is the moments become either more significant or there's less of them. So you need to be more clinical. So we can't give stuff away for free, and no one does that intentionally. But that's part of getting better. But we certainly had enough opportunity to make that result different than what it was.
And is that how you approach these final games now, knowing that it's going to get tougher and you have to have those honest conversations about being the best you can be in these final games of the season if you do want to realistically finish in the top 8?
We have those conversations all the time, to be fair. That's how we do things, We have performance conversations, and we see it as opportunities to get better, and we don't dwell on the loss, we dwell on the opportunity. But because no one obviously goes out deliberately to sabotage what you're doing. Well, I hope not, anyway. But no, from that point of view, it's part of being a professional sports person, and it's really, really important that we see those opportunities and prepare teams and develop pressure and all those things, throughout the season. I suppose what happens when you're playing against the better teams or the more established teams, your Leinsters and your Stormers and your Munsters and bits and pieces, you're in a situation where you've got to be clinical because you don't get as much opportunity. So there's a natural progression, I think, and if you want to be a team that gets into the playoffs and gets in the playoffs regularly and challenges consistently. I mean, no one can deny that we challenge consistently now. From an effort point of view, we've been. There was that play last week. There was the last play in the Edinburgh game. Obviously, we win Ulster at the death. We go to the Lions away in Europe. So we all know we're competitive, but you need to make sure you're clinical and accurate as well. So that's part of the next part of progression. Young players having accuracy in them, but that's what your rugby programme's about.
How important is it that you bounce back quickly this weekend then, that, seen as you're home before the European weekend and then a trip to South Africa? You mentioned your Stormers, and you've got Leinster coming up as well. It's not an easy run to the end of the season.
No, but everyone has to play everyone, and sometimes adversity gives different reactions to people, expectation and all that sort of stuff, and that's part of being. Everyone talks about home form and away form and different teams. Expectations part of being in elite sport and dealing with it, whether it's we're at home or we're going to the Lions Den or wherever whatever you want to say, is really just part and parcel of understanding what it takes to be, consistently competitive, and that's what it's all about.
The Lions then, they're a strong team. They beat Connacht convincingly last weekend. What are you expecting of them as they come to the Swansea.com?
With 14 men for 60 minutes. They're I mean, obviously they're a strong team, and we've played them once already, and it was a very competitive match. I think that there's a lot of set piece pressure coming our way. Obviously typical South African team. They pride themselves in that. Us getting a little bit back in that area with Adam Beard and Gareth Thomas being around certainly will help our strength in depth. But we know we're in for an arm wrestle, and they try and play positively. They're trying to stretch you around. I think they enjoyed training at Swansea yesterday in the snow, which will be a different experience for them. But again, like we're learning, they're learning how to play up here as well. So yeah, we're going to need to be good, because when they'll play a game quite similar to us actually in a way. They'll have a lot of set piece presence, and when it loosens up, they have the ability to play fast and wide. So from that point of view, it's going to be a good battle for sure.
Do you think the weather conditions will play a part then, that you have to, I don't know, use that to your advantage more, seeing as they're coming from such a warm climate at the minute?
No, I think they've been in Connaught. So from that point of view, they'd have learned quite a lot from that experience, I'm for sure, as we all do.
Yeah, fair enough. Last question from me then. I know the financial side of the club is nothing really to do with you in terms of money and the losses that have been reported for the Ospreys as well as the Scarlets this season. But Welsh rugby as a whole is tight at the moment. How does that impact your recruitment restraints, or giving you any restraints in terms of recruitment for next season?
Well, making the jigsaw fit and maintaining, and getting enough strength in depth is a challenge. The biggest challenge is trying to improve your squad. Within, a decreasing budget. Y11 have been great in relation to, we're very clear on what we are and our stability despite the losses and the financial side of it. So we feel pretty supported, to be fair, and very clear on what we have to do. The challenge is what we do with that.
Sorry, I know I said finally, but a word on Sam Parry. We've just spoken to him, 150 games this weekend. Just a word on him.
Yeah, Sam Parry, very part of a leadership group. I really enjoy Sam's company. I think he thinks about the game deeply, which is good. Obviously, brings a lot of experience set piece wise, and one of the highlights of my time at the Ospreys was him getting his first cap under the programme and the programme that we've put together here. So he's a good advert, like Gar Tom as well. They're boys that play in the hardest positions, and to get recognised internationally probably tells you something about Sam Parry.
Perfect. Thanks, Toby. Good luck on the weekend. Thanks.
Thank you.
Just on the Lions, watching their game against Connaught last week, not many teams go to Galway and get bonus points win. What are you taking from the way they play in particular? And because they really seem to have developed this season, a couple of individuals, but also as a team.
Yeah, they're a good team, and they've been buoyed by people coming back and playing as well. So they're very confident, and they've got some very, very good players, and they've always played a style that can be challenging if you're not on it defensively. So I think that they know what they are and they know what they're good at, and they're very consistent in doing that, and that makes people a handful. And if you're just a little bit off, I'm sure the Connaught review was probably centred about what they didn't control themselves. The error count was pretty high and unusually Connaught-like. So I think that there's two sides to the argument. Obviously, from our point of view, the way they played the game was no different. And if they're like anything, if you give them a lot of momentum and they can get their tails up, go up the pitch without making passes from set piece penalties, it doesn't matter who you are. It's a very difficult afternoon.
Sam just talked now about honest conversations following the Munster game. Is that really sort of continuing on the theme that you made after the game about the contrast, I guess, in the clinical side of it and skill levels? What were the things in particular that you've been stressing this week?
We understand that decision making under pressure is part of getting better and part of rugby. So intercepts, for example, that's part of it. And look, people take responsibility for those actions. It's how we continue to compete and fight and have trust that we can get back there. And that was a positive, to create opportunities for us, to still compete and be there at the final knockings is great. but we need to make life easier for ourselves, basically, and our discipline was good on how we wanted to play the game, on the actual penalty count. So there was a lot to be positive for. We are doing things slightly differently over the last couple of weeks or months, where we're trying to learn more about what works for us. So that's us being us and improving us. So that was the second part. And the third part was, the individual responsibilities of controlling what we can control, and that comes from just having the right mindset, being a warrior, being a competitor, and taking responsibility. So it was really around those three things, to be fair.
Just lastly for me, you mentioned Gareth Thomas and Adam Beard being back in the equation now after the Six Nations. In terms of the injured contingent, have you got anybody who's close either for this week or for the Sale game that might come back in?
So Max Nagy's around now, so he's got some more training, which is good for us. We lost, obviously, Alex Cuthbert and Yestin Hopkins for a period of time, which was not so positive. Nicky Smith looks in good order for probably next week, I think. So that's good. We're hoping that's the case. It'll be a week too soon for him, so he's responded well. I think that is that it. Kieran Williams has been ill at the start of the week, but he's fit and well now. So that was sort of something that came out of left field. Luke Davis is back at Scrum-half. I think that's it.
What did Nicky pick up, Toby?
Oh, he just got a shot in the ribs, really. So it's really pain management. It's and obviously from a breathing point of view, every time you breathe and your ribs are sore, you as a scrummager as well, you're in a compromised position quite a lot. So, Nicky, as you know, will battle it out, and it became too sore for him to continue, so we had to withdraw him a little bit earlier. But the good thing is that we got on top of that pretty quickly, and he's responded well.
That's lovely. Thanks for your time as always. All the best if you can.
Thank you. Cheers, Simon. Thanks a lot.
Hi, Toby. You okay?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries there to Nicky Smith and Alex Cuthbert. Is there any update regarding with Jack Morgan and Dewi Lake?
No more than what I said last week. They've not returned to on-field training yet, and as I said, with longer term injuries, that's the next sort of the significant one, because obviously then they are close enough, and then it becomes actual load. So no, they've not stepped onto the pitch as of yet.
And do you think, with the back-to-back defeats, do you still think the Ospreys can get into the top 8?
I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't. So I think from our point of view is, you look at it that, I look at it if we'd have won at Edinburgh when we had an opportunity and probably even got 2 points, we'd be sitting fourth. So I think that answers your question, doesn't it?
I was about to mention, do those opportunities of maybe picking up 2 points against Munster, then the chance at the end against Edinburgh, how does that affect the squad in a way? We're slipping up so close in some games.
So you're determined to get to the half-empty situation in me, are you? Whereas I like to see me half full. You surely have learnt this about me by now. Part of being a professional sportsman is dealing with setback, and we will. If we weren't competing, I'd be more worried, and we weren't connected to the overall cause of what we were doing, then that's a greater issue. The rest is rugby and being better and being more clinical and trying to get there. And as I said, we've got a young group with young players that are learning at the coalface in a very pressurised environment. Inconsistency, unfortunately, is part of that, and our job is to keep working at the things that make you consistent. So we understand it's part of what we do.
Yeah, and what do you expect from the Lions this weekend? You mentioned about the pack, and the pack went rather well against Munster the week before. Do you think there'll be much of an emphasis on the win in January out in South Africa?
We've not talked about it. Whether they've talked about it, maybe. They probably had enough opportunities to win the game out there. We held them up over the line a couple of times, and we competed like we talked about it, and we got on the right side of the result at the end. So, look, I'm sure they're talking about being clinical like most coaches are. So we will, as I said, it'll become a battle about, as it always is, there's people who nail the key moments, and over there we managed to do that, and last week we didn't. last week they did. So that's the name of the game.
Yeah, what's the injury update with Yeston Hopkins? Was there anything about that?
Yeah, so he's seen a specialist. He's probably going to have surgery, I think, which is disappointing for him because he just sort of bounced back. But yeah, it's a difficult one for him to take. We're lucky that we've got some consistent or some people that can come back. Jack Walsh has played exceptionally well in that position. Nagy's back. We've got some other young players around in that. So hopefully it doesn't affect the team. We just hope Yestin gets back as soon as he can because he's a good player and we enjoy having him out there.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Toby.
Thank you.
Hi, Toby. I spoke last week really about some of the younger players that have come through challenging for places. Two of those that weren't really involved last week, Dan Edwards, Morgan Morse, they come back into contention this weekend?
Yeah, they were in tension last weekend, to be fair. Obviously, Morgan Morse is coming out of an under-20s programme, so there's an element of taking our time a little bit with him and looking for the right contest, if you like. So we just need to be mindful of how much he's played and what he's done. Dan's been great for us, and it's how we're privileged. Obviously, Owen's got Owen. I mean, obviously everyone focuses on the 10 and it's a very high profile position. He did a lot of really, really good things, a lot of tough things in the game last week, as he did when he went on at Edinburgh. And he's sort of getting his way back in there. Jack Walsh has gone very well in that position and can play there. So it's about how we create those opportunities. But from this week, next week, opportunities will come along. We go to South Africa. There's plenty of rugby to play. So the good thing is that now we've got people that are competing for places. He's he's a person that we really rate highly, and we're excited about him for the now and the future. But they're all good learning opportunities. So even if he's not figuring in the match day 23, he's running the opposition plays, and he's seen as the quarterback. So it's all part of his development. And the more he's out there learning those, general quarterback type stuff, it'll only serve him well for when his opportunity comes back along.
And really looking at the win you had out in South Africa, really almost kind of kick-started the second half of the season for you. Coming into this game now, is the kind of excitement and building towards this final programme now, and is that youthful exuberance going to push you on to getting that top 8?
Well, we hope so. They provide unbelievable energy, as I've said. We talk about accuracy, and that's part of it, and young players, work on their consistency by experience and improving skill sets and all those things. But they bring a relentless energy, and we've been in situations where the relentless energy has really helped us out in close games and key decisions under pressure. A lot of the youngsters have shown their ability to live in that world, which is fantastic. But we're in the business, getting towards the business end of the season. We've created an opportunity in Europe in the last 16, and got a home tie there. And we've also, we're in and around, everyone talks about top 8. Results probably went our way a little bit this week as well for us, despite our own shortcomings. So, we're in that mix, and yes, we've got a tough end to the season with, going to South Africa and Leinster and, 2 Welsh derbies, and, it's tough, but it's tough for everyone. You look at the margins of error are really tough. So we're excited that we've created the opportunity for ourselves to kick on and give ourselves a shot, and that's all you can ask at this time of the year.
Would you say as well, I was going to get into that, the results last weekend, a bit surprising, a bit mixed up. Maybe you look at it, if you look back, as maybe a lost opportunity on there, but also like a second chance. Is that fair to say?
So the half-full answer is second chance. The half-empty option is missed opportunity. It's just the opportunity. It's just where we are, and that's why people love sport. That's why we enjoy what we do. And that's the privilege that we have of doing it. So from that point of view, yeah, it is. We're disappointed not to get anything out of the game. As I said post-match, the big thing was that we didn't get anything out of the game because I thought the effort and some of the things we did warranted that. However, you don't always get what you deserve. So it's ancient history now. All that matters is what we do next.
Hopefully get what you deserve this weekend. Good luck.
You often do.
Just one quick one on the scrum halves. I thought Cameron Jones was really explosive off the bench, had a huge impact last week. And obviously Ruben's been playing really well. You mentioned Luke being back. What about, obviously there are 3 different stages probably of their progression, but what do they need to individually to progress to that next level? Ruben international perhaps, or becoming just improving in general, and then the other 2 in possibly being starters for the region in the future?
Well, obviously, in relation to international, that's obviously what you'd have to ask Warren that.
Yeah.
But in relation to standards of performance, the consistent thing across all 3 of them, they're competitors and they drive each other on to be better, and they're very competitive when they're out in the middle. But also they're very supportive of each other in improvement around the skill side of things. So Mike Catt, the Irish coach and former English coach, and my former fly half at London Irish and former coach, would say world-class players don't make mistakes and they have world-class basics. And for a position like 9, I think those things are even more important. Everyone sees the eye-catching moments, but what they don't see is the 9.5 out of 10 on the box kicks, the 9.5, 10 clearing the ruck, the referee management and all those bits. So the more time they're in the saddle, the better. They are slightly different players, and that allows us a bit of flexibility, which is good. But yeah, they've all gone pretty well, to be fair, and that's exciting because, it's a very pivotal position.
Yeah. I was just thinking exactly that Ruben especially, I thought he was unlucky. You mentioned international. I appreciate it's not. I thought he was unlucky not to get a call up. But for him, it's the box kicks seem to be, you say 9 out of 10, 9 out of times they're on the money.
Well, look, the kicking game, unfortunately, for some, is a massive part of rugby now, and territory, and just putting pressure on opposition or reducing pressure on yourselves. So 9 and 10s are the so pivotal around that, and I think that's definitely work in progress, and he's worked hard on that, as they all have. So it's good to see some of that coming into fruition, and those things are certainly attributes that people will want. So then it comes down to if you can get the ingredients of your cake right, and then you can worry about the icing and the cherry on the top, about the eye-catching moments. But no one's going to consistently pick a scrum half that can't box kick, pass well, manage the game well, and compete. So yeah, I'm obviously Ruben's sort of come through since I've been here, and he's constantly looking to improve, which is good. The challenge is how quickly he can do that.